Hey, everybody, and welcome to That's a Mouthful. Matt's mouth is currently full. Yes. So it's been a little bit. We've been a little bit on a little bit of summer break. Matt has been busy with work because of his schedule. Also, the Olympics have been going on. So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today. So, Matt, you did get to chance in within your schedule to watch some Olympics.
Some, not as much. Usually, what'll end up happening if I can't watch it right then, a couple weeks will go by, and then when all the clips and all the full reports, the look backs are done, because some stuff gets reported on, and of course, they're reporting in the moment. So
Yeah.
later, when you get to look back and you kind of get the whole story, I'll end up going back and reviewing all of that. But yes, I did see Simone Biles killed it, just absolutely killed it.
I
And
was so happy because obviously if anybody, well, first of all, real quick, we are obsessed with the Olympics. You can go back and watch. We've talked about Olympics like crazy.
oh
But
yeah, that's
so
right. The time Cody
uh,
learned that I knew stuff.
in Tokyo, Simone Biles bowed out of some competition, and so this time there's been a big push on her part and with USA Gymnastics, talking about not only physical health but mental health involving within the sport. So I was really like, you got to be like a little nervous because you're like, she's coming back on the stage. She's been doing good in all qualifying and all the
Oh
worlds,
yeah, she
but
qualified in, of
like
course.
this is
Like,
the Olympics again. So like you're like, ooh, and then of course she did.
I got
So
such respect
obviously,
for her stepping out because she had talked about the twisties, and for anybody that doesn't know what that was, essentially what happens, it's kind of like vertigo for the normal person. So in the air, when you're spinning around, they know where they are and they know when to open up their body to land on their feet or twist their arms or pull in, let go. So she lost that spatial awareness, which is incredibly dangerous. This isn't like she's jogging. The athletes have broken their necks. An athlete in the 1998 Goodwill Games, I believe, broke her neck on a vault timer, and it was caught on video. It was a big dramatic thing, and it was an accident. This was somebody who is a pro gym. This was an elite. It was a Chinese gymnast, and and so whether it's on the world stage or in somebody's high school gym, accidents happen. So she bowed out not only for herself, but for the best of her teammates, because it doesn't matter how many times you won a gold medal, that particular time frame, she knew something was wrong. And she talked about the pressure, the mental health, along with that. I think that was like the final straw. And she said no. And her teammates won. And
yeah,
believe it's
because there would have been a chance that they wouldn't have won if she had fallen on
right.
something.
And
They
if
would have
so,
been
I
out.
believe Sony Lee won the gold medal all around in
Yes.
2020. Well, for Tokyo, which I think technically was 2021. This pandemic. Trying to explain this 10 years from now is going to be the weirdest thing. But so it was really incredible that, because we talk a lot about mental health here, and I think a pro athlete on stage, and what was amazing was how many news centers kind of turned on her and talked about how, wow, what a weakness. Like, she could have stopped at that moment, and she is still one of the most decorated gymnast of all time, which that record was held by Shannon Miller for like 20 years,
Oh my God. And she was at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I did not recognize her. I wouldn't have recognized her. But
yeah, it's crazy seeing and a lot of them, I think it's really great. A lot of them coach now and they publicly speak. And I think what it really showed was that, yes, training all that time, the cream of the crop will rise to the top. And obviously that method does work, but it is not the only way. They show that you can work really hard, totally kill it, and also take good care of them mentally and physically. Because these are all, in the world of gymnastics, most of these athletes are done by the time they're 20. Between 20 and 25, they retire, whether it's from the elite level or the collegiate level, or they're not training at least for the Olympics. They might just be on like a national team, which is still elite. They're still training hard, but your body wears out. So taking care of these athletes so that when they're move into Act 2, that they are healthy and put together. Because how many times do we see baseball and basketball and football players, they come out and they might have an injury, or they're like, you know what, I'm ready to retire on a high note. They're no longer bringing in millions of dollars in endorsements. And if they don't transition into something successful, they find themselves broke, dealing with, football players deal a lot of with head injuries, that they develop neurological problems either during their career, the signs are there and they don't know it yet, or later on. And I believe that just in the last couple months, a former player passed away from it. And
Yeah,
so
I mean,
seeing world-class athletes speak up when they're under the pressure of their sponsors, coaches, and not even that they're pushing down on them, but you have that desire to impress everyone, and you have a job to do, and you want to show up and do your job and show the world what you've been training for your whole life. I mean, I know how I felt on my first day of nursing, and that was just me in a hospital on the West Coast and nobody knows my name. So I can't imagine walking out on a stage or a world platform and someone going, okay, go do the thing. Do you know if you know, like when you're walking and you know somebody's watching you, you trip and fall, like, because you forget how to walk? Like, I think about that. So I can't imagine, like, okay,
every time I see Matt,
fall in front
I'm
of
gonna be
10
like,
million people. And then if you miss, it's going to be on YouTube forever.
yeah, I think now it's kind of become the norm a little bit of the mental health and physical health, well-being of athletes trying to head in that direction. I think that's good. So they were in Paris this year, which was absolutely beautiful. There were some hiccups along the way, as is always a host city has. It's not, there's always issues that along the way. But we kicked off with some controversy among what I would say was probably the majority of conservatives that wanted to cry about something on television. Now, this is what gets me. So,
I know what you're
none of
talking.
them watched this because I watched it and I didn't see anything that would be problematic or anything that would lead to being problematic. Now, we're talking, of course, about what the conservatives called the Lord's Supper debacle, which it was not.
It was
But
actually not even a depiction of that.
no, what killed me about it is when I watched it. So if you watched it, it was a runway show with like different fashion, and that's what it was. So none of these people that were complaining about it even watched it because they would have seen it was just a fashion show. Now then, if you wanted to complain, I guess if there was drag queens and whatever, that would be an argument if you wanted to have that argument. But it was a red carpet fashion show. What people were complaining about is that someone had, well, I don't want to say someone, but there was a photo taking to be published, and they were picking up on that photo because the photo was just of one side of the runway. Again, there was people on both sides, and this is what killed me about it. It was like, okay, and I made a TikTok about this, and it is one of my most viewed TikToks, which I am proud about. And I went to head to toe with some of these people. Thankfully, there wasn't a lot of crazy people, but there were crazy people. And ultimately, it came down to, no, we didn't watch it, or two, there were drag queens and gay people, or yeah, and then they just shut up because there was no argument to be made from it, other than they were highly uneducated about the god of wine as which it was depicted in this particular case, and which never aired with the blue man, never aired on American television. So you know that we kicked off with that, and it's like, okay, you do know this is a world game.
Yeah, we have a whole thing about how we're really self-absorbed, and it always comes out at something like the Olympics, or whenever somebody makes a reference to something that isn't necessarily North American, like United States. We really need a name for us that is not a North America, because Canada and Mexico and like we're a whole continent. But when you say Americans, everybody goes to the United States. But technically, like,
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. Another thing that happened, again, I made a TikTok on this one and people went crazy about it, but it was a little shocking. They were running out of food, Matt. I don't know if you heard, running out of food at the Olympic Village for the
yes.
athletes. And they had no like meat proteins. Part of the idea was that they were going to kind of go green for this Olympics, and in part they were going to not have many meat products.
Which
These
these
are
athletes are all on finely tuned diets, so not making it optional for them to supply themselves with what's best it's one thing to know that that's coming and prepare yourself for what a menu might look like. And I can understand that, like, hey, this is what we have available en masse. So here's a menu 3 months ahead, plan accordingly. But to show up and just be like, have your diet suddenly changed, that's a really bad thing, especially if you've been
yeah.
eating one type of way.
When it was like, okay, we're not having meat products. Well, they eventually got meat products back in a large quantity, but they were like just running out of food in general. And my thought on this is they were calculating like calorie intake for a normal person and not a person that isn't a highly
I
trained
didn't know that.
athlete.
These athletes, not all of them, but some of them eat many thousands of calories per day in order to maintain the muscle. And
I mean, they're just burning calories sitting there.
It helps you heal. It helps you put together. Like I tell a lot of my patients, getting them to eat, they're like, oh, I just want a water and some applesauce. I'm relaxing, and I'm like, okay, we need to get these wounds healed, and you need to eat some protein and not applesauce.
Thankfully, they like got that figured out eventually. Although a lot of people ended up getting food other places, or some of the USA Gymnastics I saw, they said the food was now available, but there was no seasoning to the food. So one thing though that was a highlight in the Olympic Village as far as food, I don't know if you saw this one too. There was a Norwegian swimmer, Henrik Christensen, who became a TikTok famous because of chocolate muffins in the Olympic Village. Did you see anything about this?
No.
Okay, so like he made this video, and it was him eating chocolate muffins that were in the Olympic Village, there for the athletes, and he just made like this funny video, and then he continued making videos about this chocolate muffin, and they were some of the funniest TikToks. There was one where he's like having a love affair with the chocolate muffin, and it just went on, and then it took off, and then you had other Olympic athletes in the village then trying to find these chocolate muffins, and so they were going to get the chocolate muffins, and then they were running out of chocolate muffins, and then people online were trying to figure out, normal people who weren't at the Olympics were like, where are these chocolate muffins from? Where can I get these chocolate muffins? And there was a search online to find the vendor.
I really think that place offered a sponsorship to this athlete.
They may have found the vendor, and they might be coming to America in some way in some other countries. The company that was running the food at the Olympics is a company that supplies food for like colleges here in the United States, and then they supply them for other places, obviously around the world. But I thought that was just like a fun highlight of the Olympics, and because you always have these stories that come out of the Olympics that are just like fun and lighthearted, and then here you had this really cute Olympic swimmer, Henrik Christensen, that let's see, well, I don't know if I can easily share it, but yeah, it was a fun little clip. I'll have to send you some videos of his chocolate escapades. Now, of course, the women walked away in gymnastics with the gold medal, which was exciting to see them all perform at that high level. And then men's gymnastics, for the first time in a long time, got the bronze medal. They medaled.
I want to say 04.
Yeah, it's
been
yeah.
a while. I remember one of the years, the national team, they had gone on like a vacation together, and they all posted pictures and they're like little Speedos and cute little shorts to try to draw attention. They're like, we need guys. I remember the kid wanting to play soccer and do gymnastics because the athletes and kids that did it, they were just so strong and they were so flexible. And I wanted to be strong and flexible, but they weren't much bigger than me at the time. And I'm just like, oh my God, look how, I don't think I would have been a very good athlete for that because I'm 5'10". So that typically is not a good height for certain things. But, I think I would have really enjoyed, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot, but my family just, they never really took it too seriously. And by the time I went to live with my grandparents, I had never shown any kind of prodigal skill to anything. So, when would we have known? if I ever have kids, I will definitely like let them kind of explore and try to encourage them to try different things. Like if they find something that they love, then we're good. Like do it. If you don't, okay, cool. But at least you tried it. Like I want them to never feel like, oh, I don't know what I was good at because nobody let me try it. You know? So like, you know, I've watched a lot of interviews like when I was finishing my psych degree and a couple of papers, I got to choose my own topic. So I decided to write it on like discipline, like mental discipline that sometimes, you know, your family provides it, sometimes you provide it. And I found myself in this like black hole of watching interviews with a lot of athletes. And a lot of them were some of the most prodigal ones, some of the greatest ones were like, oh, I was not naturally good at this. My sister or my brother was way better naturally. Like the flexibility or the running or the, you know, the good cardio just came to them. But they were the ones that stayed in the gym and did the extra 20 push-ups because they knew they needed it. And then they showed back up, which, you know, for anything, the hardest part is showing up. Because, you know, when you wake up, I mean, even for my own job, like there are days I wake up and I'm like, I can't do this. And like when I would go to CrossFit, I felt good going to CrossFit when I was tired. I do not feel good going to the gym if I'm having a weightlifting day, if I'm tired, because not having somebody watch you while you're exhausted and lifting weights, you can make a huge mistake. And if I didn't know better, I probably would go do it. But I've seen too many injuries now, and I'm like, no, nurse bring off.
Another part of the men's gymnastics solo events, he became a media darling as well online, and is Clark Kent, or as his real name is, Steven Nedorozic, who did the pommel horse or the horse.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah,
and he's a Rubik's Cube expert.
Classes. He has a couple of different visual he has a couple of different eye issues. So he wears his glasses, but he showed what it's like when he takes his glasses off for other events. And he just like made videos of like jumping for the bars and totally missing. But he can do the pommel horse without it because he does it by feel. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that's really great to show other people that you don't like a vision issue. You just have to maybe train differently or train yourself differently. There was this one gymnast that did interviews. She's I want to say she was totally deaf and blind in one eye. And she competed at the collegiate level, which is really still hard to get to. And her teammates and coaches, they would signal her from this, you know, because they can be on the sidelines. And that's how they would encourage her, because she obviously couldn't hear them. But when she would go up and they would do things. So of course she had her routine. And I watched the interview. I'm like, how the hell did you get into this? So what her mom did was took her to a tumbling class. And because she insisted on going because she saw it on TV and was like, that's what I want to do. And so her mom just kind of took her there and was like, just do what everybody else does. And eventually, of course, I think they were kind of hoping, okay, she'll do a couple and it'll tire her out. And they didn't, of course, because when you want a kid to be tired of something, never. And then, and it was really cool watching her talk about it. Like, oh yeah, you know, this, because, you know, when you don't have your hearing and vision, I mean, imagine you're flying through the air. And I used to train two friends of ours. Each of them are deaf in one ear. Well, that creates issues with balance. So there's certain exercises I would have them just, because they would get really in their heads. I'm like, why don't you just close your eyes and just kind of stretch for a second? And like, I would just have them, because they would look at their feet instead of just balancing. Yeah. I'm like, just close your eyes then. As soon as they close their eyes, they immediately just fall over. And I'm like, oh, their equilibrium's off. So imagine having no hearing, one eye to see everything. And and she was really funny too. And she had just such a great rapport with her teammates. And they supported her like unequivocally. And she was a beast to watch. Like, it was so cool to watch her. So seeing people like the pommel horse champion just hop up there, take his glasses off, and then learning later that he has visual problems that would make just prepping dinner a challenge, and he's up there spinning around, and I can't even walk down the stairs.
What I also loved about it is there were several like memes and TikToks about this, But anybody who has glasses realizes this whole situation of him like having to take his glasses off to do something and then having to put them on. So yeah, if you have glasses, you have to deal with this. You're gonna go on a roller coaster, you have to take your glasses off.
Yeah, I
If
stopped
you
wearing my glasses to places
so
because
many
I got
different
tired of taking
things
them off everywhere.
you have to do that. And so it's like, yes, we have a hero for us. Glasses warriors.
Hey,
um,
4
okay,
eyes
so
on the
then
medal. Yes. I love my glasses now are so cute. I'm so happy with them. Oh, but interesting enough, I recently got my Washington license. I've lived here for over a year, and finally got hit.
that's better than I did.
And so I went to take, they had me take the vision test and everything, and I don't need my glasses anymore
Oh
for
wow.
driving. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, so I don't wear them and everything's been fine, but it's kind of like skipping psych meds for a patient. You just kind of spice things up a little bit.
Huh, okay. um, so and some other drama happening in gymnastics. We have with Simone Biles. She posted a photo after they won medals
Oh,
and everything. We had Michaela Skinner, who previously has said that she feels like that. This is what she says: "I feel like the talent and the depth just isn't like what it used to be. I mean, obviously, a lot of girls don't work as hard. The girls just don't have work ethic." And then Simone Biles had post ready to go, and yeah, and then later on, Michaela Skinner has like posted on social somewhere, basically saying, asking if Simone Biles will just call off everybody from like hounding her.
but it's
It's like,
like
girl,
Simone Biles didn't do anything. She literally went online and wrote something rude. And what gets me about all these, it's always an apology video and they all sound the same. I didn't intend to cause harm. Okay, when you wrote that, what were you thinking? You were jabbing at somebody. You were intending to make people feel something and make a point. Well, you did.
so
You
her
just thought
caption,
everybody
Simone
was going to agree with you.
Simone Biles' caption after they won was lack of talent, lazy, Olympic champions.
Yeah,
And
I
then
saw that.
so everyone like piled on. It's like, well, first of all, they're very talented still. So I don't know what you're talking about. They have great work ethic. And you got called out. And now when people are like calling you out, you're gonna cry. Like if you're gonna call people out, you better prepare to take all the drama that's gonna come with it and not cry about it. Okay. Then we have the drama with the bronze medal with Jordan Childs, uh, who got the bronze medal.
Yeah.
And now, of course, she did in the events of happening, she didn't get the medal. Now, then USA Gymnastics went and appealed that to look at the scoring points, and ultimately Jordan Childs got the bronze medal. Then it was 5 days later, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she can't have that medal anymore. It's going to go to Romanian just gymnast Anna Barbaso." And they're saying it was because USA Gymnastics, you have to file a complaint to check scores within a minute. Romania said USA Gymnastics waited over a minute to do it. So then it came down to, yeah, she has to give the medal back. Then USA Gymnastics came back with video evidence and they were like, hey, yeah, actually we did something at 45 seconds and then again at 50 something seconds. So this was in the minute. And then they came back and like, yeah, we can't do that because in our rules, we can't, once we make a decision, we can't go back on the decision. It's like,
Even
what are
if
you talking
conclusive
about?
evidence is presented, which
Yeah.
means it was always her medal all along. And then
And
they're
it's
like,
like,
well, everybody should share a medal. I'm like, actually, no, they
no.
didn't tie. Jordan won. Jordan won it fair and square, and they're pitting the athletes. Luckily, the athletes have all been supportive of each other. But yeah, it's a super gross situation. So when people when they complain or want something reassessed, the first three athletes have 4 minutes. The very last athlete has 1 minute. And she still beat that timer. So it wasn't like, this happened with Ali Raisman, the team captain of her last two Olympic teams, which was Tokyo and Rio, 16 and 21. And she contested and won the bronze in the all around. Her and another athlete, they shared the bronze because she contested, but it brought her up to, I believe, a tie. And they said, okay, then you both win a bronze medal.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jordan, the United States is still contesting it because it's barbarically unfair. She didn't do anything wrong. And Team USA, I generally am not always on Team USA's side, not like USA Gymnastics, but like the United States side, because I feel like a lot of times we're really insensitive to other cultures, and that even when we're contesting something, we're just fucking mean about it, and it's unnecessary. But in this particular case, the athlete, the coach, and USA Gymnastics did all the right things, and there was proof of it. And they released a statement. That video was not available to them at the time when this was announced. So once somebody, I believe, was there just recording on their own phone, and the controversy came out, they turned over their video. They contacted all the people and said, "Here's my stuff. Here's proof. Turn that in." And they said,
and here's
no.
another like situation. They didn't when they emailed Team USA saying, "Hey, you need to, if you want to do an appeal, you're going to have to do that." They emailed the wrong people. So first of all, bad scoring. So we had to go back and tell them to fix the score. Then they don't email the right people saying that there's been a complaint about the timing issue. And then 3, it is within the timing issue. And then their own rules make it so that no evidence can come forward. It's like, okay, y'all got to figure this out, because every step of the way, there's been something wrong on y'all's part of
right. And it sucks because
governing bodies.
And Romania's thing was like, okay, why don't we agree to let them share the medal? Because it's such I can understand why they would go that route. And USA Gymnastics was like, you know what? Okay. And now they're saying,
I don't think they should do that.
No, and I really don't. That's like, to me, that's like last resort, because none of this, once they reassessed Jordan Child's score, the scores all stayed the same. Like after that, like nobody's contested her start values, nothing, her execution, none of it. It's all, once that was redetermined, that is stuck. So they're doing this over technicalities, which I would understand if this was like years later and it's like, really, what are you bringing up here? But this was all dealt with as soon as it was brought to everybody's attention. And then they're using an arbitrary technicality. So Romania has went ahead with their goal. They got the permission from the IOC to do their medal ceremony. So she was given her own bronze medal. Jordan Child still has possession of hers.
We are not giving that back.
You have. And if I was her in particular, I would be absolutely not over my dead body. So there's also something similar happened in 2000 to Andrea Raducan. She actually medaled in the all around. She got gold, and she had gone to, I think she was, I want to say she was Romanian, and the team doctor had given her a Sudafed for a cold. So she didn't go do this. The team doctor did. And of course, after the games and everything, she was drug tested after the medal ceremony and, tested positive for it. Sudafed has been since removed from the list of meds that they're allowed to take. But they took her medal at the time, and she contested it again later, and they denied it because I think same thing, like once a decision was made. And I'm like, it gave her no value. So her teammate had won silver and was then promoted. And they interviewed her teammate, the news, and she was like, "It's not my medal. I earned silver." Sure, everybody wants to win gold. She's like, "But I didn't win gold. She did. I won silver, and silver is my spot." And I thought that was wonderful, because she could have said anything about like, "Oh, yay, I won, but my poor teammate." No, she put her teammate front and center and was like, "No, I didn't earn that. I earned silver." And it's frustrating how the athletes are, I think, treated at times. Because it's their bodies, being sacrificed for this, that they are choosing to sacrifice for this, and technicalities that have nothing to do with their talent, how they perform that day,
Yeah. One of the other issues is, so it's the Court of Arbitration for Sports who made this ruling. And here's a little wrinkle on this, and why I think it might not be completely up and up, is that the presiding arbiter of the Court of Arbitration for Sports that stripped Jordan Childs of her bronze medal and handed it to the Romanian gymnast has for over a decade had ties to the Romanian government. We'll just leave it there.
Yes, I did know about that. I read that. I was like, oh, how far are we taking this? Okay, we're talking about everything.
Okay. So then we also had a controversy with some Olympic boxers and this was another chance for
I
the
think we should talk
conservatives.
about that. Could be we should do a separate episode on that. I think there's some stuff. I think we should do a separate episode. Is that okay? I really think we could do an entire episode today on it.
Yeah, we'll just mention real quick that she was the conservatives, or I don't want to say the conservative. There was a lot of outroar from a lot of people, not just in America, and saying that she was trans, and she's not. She's female, was born a female, has female parts, if you want to go that far. Anyway, one of the big things that come out recently, which, you know, we'll talk about the Olympic thing, but she is suing J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk because of cyber harassment.
They've been awfully quiet for the first fucking time in 5 years.
Not good to be sued in England, considering this.
Yeah, because she's been able to. Well, J.K. Rowling has been able to use her lawyers to just silence anybody and force public apologies out of people. I'm like, because she was all like, trans people were not attacked in the Holocaust. I'm like, they literally were slaughtered. Like,
yeah, both of them need to just go down.
When they were rescued and are liberated, and they were asking the prisoners what the different patches and symbols meant, and they were telling them, and tons of them were re-imprisoned, you know, and it was
another highlight for some, and I guess it could be positive or negative for the athlete himself. But we had French high jumper, pole vaulter, Anthony Amirati, who unfortunately touched the pole.
Most of him made it over the bar.
Touched the pole with his pole. So I was hearing people talk about this. There could be positives in that people know that he's well endowed, but then obviously at the same time, how unfortunate that is what caught you up. But obviously that got a lot of attention for the French.
I've avoided commenting on it because I haven't seen any specific statements from him, because that is, God, forgive the phrase here, hugely disappointing.
He did get some offers to do like some live streams or OnlyFans kind of things, but the numbers were fairly low in my opinion for doing such a thing. But ultimately, an American walked away. Well, Sorry, he played for Sweden. He is an American, but his mother played for Sweden, and so he was allowed to play for Sweden. So he was great, and he did world record time on the high jump, and goodness, he jumped so high, and he's been training since he was a little kid, which was great. And his parents are his coaches. He trains at LSU and goes to LSU, I guess. And
I could not imagine training under my parents. I know Chelsea Memel did it, Nastia Liukin did it. You know, I know it happens. Yana Beeger did it, and just I can only imagine what it's like training, especially for like Nastia Liukin. Her dad is a gold medalist from the Seoul Olympics and from '88. And he talked about it. They talked about, you know, they kind of separate like when he's dad and when he's coach. And, you know, I watched a really fascinating interview on it. And like they were talking about, at one point she had a really ugly ankle injury that was really hampered her for like a year leading up to the Olympics. And it was really interesting because you could see, like, as a coach, he was like, oh, we need to be careful. We need to do this. But watching him, you know, he would bandage her foot, you know, so she could train on it and everything. And like the gentleness, like he's doing it like a coach, but at the same time, there's like an edge to it. Like he's still dad. And I'm just like, that has got to be the hardest balance because, you know, gymnasts and pro athletes, they are usually homeschooled or all their studies are built around their education. And most of them are also 4.0 academics. And I'm like, I'm useless. But, you know, seeing that balance of coach, parent, and learning, like how many of them, can you just imagine what do you even talk about at dinner? Like how hard that has to be for some families, I'm sure.
I'd be like, bitch, you didn't jump high enough today. So Armand Duplantis is his name. And again, he played for Sweden because his mother played for the Swedish team. And so they allowed him. And he did do the high jump with 6.25 meter jump, world record.
Damn.
And he had qualified earlier that evening with the 6 meter, so he jumped it up 0.25. And then wrapping it up because ice skaters got medals at the Summer Olympics. That's right. It was finally announced that there was drama, obviously, during the Winter Olympics, where the Russian team got the gold medal, but ultimately Valeva had tested positive for a banned performance-enhancing drugs in the months leading up to the Winter Games, and there was drama involved in that, and so medals were held off. And finally, it was decided that the Russians were not going to get the medal, and so the American team got the gold team medal for ice skating, and Japan moved up to get that silver medal. So that was exciting on that part. And which was also really exciting, though, is all of them got to have their families there. So they all got their families to see the medal, because at the Winter Olympics, it was still, they couldn't really have a lot of families there.
Right,
and
COVID.
so this was that chance. So it ultimately worked out for them that they got to come to Paris to get that medal, so that their family could see that moment that they had all amazingly worked for. So it was so exciting. I'm so excited. Of course, in 4 years, the Olympics will be in LA, which I will be there. I'm going to be there constantly.
Are you going?
See as much as I can. Yes, I'm going. I'm going.
That would be the greatest on the cast trip.
I'm just going to point out that LA 28 needs to invite me and Matt as Olympic influencers, because we know a lot about Olympics, and
that was still one of our funniest live. We had done a live, for anybody that's new to us, about 2 years ago now. I think it was during Tokyo, leading up to Tokyo. So Tokyo had been delayed, and then in 2021 we're getting there, and Cody's like, well, because Cody's been to former Olympic villages and sites, and I've watched the videos, by the way, loved it. You're just fucking adorable. And he was like, well, we're going to do something that I know more about than Matt, and, so I'm just going to talk. And I was like, okay. And then I just killed everybody. I used to watch them with my mom. So I didn't really understand what was happening. And a couple of the times, the Olympics would happen. And I remember I found Wikipedia and I just started reading. And then I thought, oh, wow, how interesting. Look at how people set aside their differences to compete with each other every 4 years. And we have games. Well, yeah, mostly set aside their differences. Usually the athletes are all pretty supportive of each other, and I think that's really interesting, and there's marks of that all through history and other, even in times of war. But it was a really funny live. Keith, a longtime friend of ours and of the podcast, who has known me in person for 6 years, he was my roommate at the time. He was at the gym running on the treadmill listening to us, and he starts texting me. He goes, where the fuck did you get this from? How do you know these names?
So LA 28, we're available. So just hit us up. And
we need some we need some LGBT representation there. So send 2 gay boys. Yay! Gay boys will be well into our 40s by then.
Not me, girl.
Okay, well, you may not look it just because you look 26.
So the Winter Olympics next will be in Milan, and then of course 2028 will be in LA, and I'm so excited. Okay, so everybody, we thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to That's a Mouthful. If you loved what you heard today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with all our latest episodes. And we've got more than just episodes. Join us on social media to be part of our vibrant community and keep the conversation going. Follow us, dive into discussions, and share your thoughts. Want to support the show and get some fabulous perks? Check out our Patreon page. Your support helps us bring even more great content and keeps the party going. Every bit helps, and we truly appreciate it. So, until next time, keep that mouthful.